So much I want to say. So many people that I know, and I suspect that I don't know, lead what I would call confusing lives. They walk around in a state of true confusion. How did I get to this point? Why don't I have what I wanted? Why do I have what I don't want? Where did things go wrong? Why don't I have a partner? Why do I have a partner I don't like? Why don't I have kids? Why don't my kids like me? It just goes on and on and on and on and on. What's wrong? What's wrong with my life? Well, Rudy had a really wonderful response to people who say, I'm confused. I'm confused about my life. He said, you choose to be confused. It's a choice. You don't have to be confused. I think there's one word at the center of confusion. And the word really is should. I should do this, I should do that, I should be this, I should be that, I should have made that choice, I should have gone that way. Should. And it leads to an enormous amount of sadness, disappointment, sense of not being worthy, sense of not having lived the life you were supposed to live, sense of regret, the worst of all emotions and experiences. So, in a sense, you have to look into where did this word should come from? And how does it play such a big role in your life? This is called introspection. Actually taking time to look into your life and figure out something about how you became who you became. The story of your life was based on shoulds, or the sense that you didn't listen to what should have been listened to. And you know, it's not that hard to trace for any of you who make the effort. It's pretty clearly something that's parental. You shouldn't do that. You should brush your teeth. You shouldn't hit that little girl. You shouldn't play in the mud. You should eat all your cereal. I mean, really, you can feel it. It goes back to all that stuff. It is imprinted so early. And how do they know? How do they know you shouldn't hit that girl? Maybe you need to hit that little girl. And maybe you need not to finish that cereal. Probably that's the case. You stopped eating it because you didn't need to or want to. And they give you lots of reasons. You should do this because that will happen. You will get big and strong. Because there are kids starving in China. I mean, there's endless reasons for the shoulds. And they lock in. They lock into the system. And then we are living a life, a story of our life, in which we are listening to or not listening to these directives. And then they compound. You end up going to school, and so you have teachers giving you an even bigger list of shoulds, And then you have peer groups who are really, really impressing on the individual psyche. And they have even more things that you should and shouldn't be doing. And there comes a point where you simply don't have any voice of your own, where you just don't know what you should be doing. The shoulds, the social shoulds, are so powerful that you're living a life completely dictated by voices in your head from all of these people that you trusted and paid attention to. And they were louder voices than your own voice, or they became your own voice. And you began to feel something about you is wrong. Something's wrong because you shouldn't have been this, or you shouldn't have done that, or life should have been different than it is. But the truth is, life is what it is. Your life is what it is. And yes, there were a lot of forces making that happen, and none of you could have done anything about it. What would you have done? Told your parents no? Well, you tried when you were 2. You go, no, no. And they say, you shouldn't do that. You should do this. And so, who's going to win that battle? You know who's going to win that battle. You as a child never do. I mean, some children get really strong-headed and combative, and which is a good thing or a bad thing, I guess, depending on various circumstances. But mostly, you are living a life that has been determined by a lot of external forces, and that you judge by those forces. And almost everybody finds themselves wanting in some way. So we feel deeply, deeply imperfect as people. And then if you want to get into really big shoulds, you find religion. You shouldn't have that thought. You will go to hell for having that thought. I mean, big, big ones. And there are sins, real sins, in certain behaviors. And they represent probably important guidelines for life. You shouldn't kill people. You shouldn't steal. I mean, on and on. But the rule book is heavy, heavy, heavy rule book. Clearly, we have to have those rules. We have to. The world wouldn't function without them. I'm a true believer in the Ten Commandments. I think that's the ultimate rule book. People who follow those rules probably will have a fairly good life. People who don't follow them will have to do something to atone for having not followed them. You have to find a way to forgive yourself, or to be forgiven for not following the Ten Commandments. And sin is depicted in many different religions in many different ways, but you always kind of know when you've done it. When you've gone against not just the little rules, but some of the big ones. And even if you deny accepting responsibility, something in you will feel something. So, what do you do to overcome having disobeyed? You pray, you ask for forgiveness. You find people who actually do forgive you. If you really do something terrible, you maybe have to go on a pilgrimage to somewhere, to Mecca, to whatever holy spot you think there is in the world that will absolve you of your sin. And in fact, that journey probably will do it, if you believe it. Real pilgrimages are there for a reason, because we have to absolve ourselves of our own self-hatred, whatever it may be. In ancient cultures, people were programmed just like ours. People are programmed. But then there was always something in ancient cultures that we don't have in our culture, which was called initiation. And initiation led you into a awareness of something within you, not external, something within you, deep within you, that was a place of absolution, a place of forgiveness, and more than that, a doorway into your own truth, your own sense of the rules, your own path. Many people in those cultures, when they found that path, were actually given a new name because it so transformed them. Suddenly you were eagle. You can come up with names of your own. You found a new name and you lived a different life. In our culture, there's nothing like that. There is nothing leading us inward, nothing leading us to find ourselves at all. And so this confusion that starts early builds into something really intense. Something we need, witch doctors we call, I shouldn't say this, but psychiatrists and therapists of many different natures, and I happen to like psychiatrists and therapists, but they are the people who try to dig back in under all of this weaving and help you get somewhere, but they don't initiate you. There is no initiation. Now it's become clear to me that almost everyone who arrives at this class has in some way been initiated or self-initiated. People who come to this class can almost always refer to the moment when they looked at the unbelievably woven density of social structure and pierced it. They saw through it. You know, I've described for me what happened when I was 4 years old in a sandbox, sitting there playing with my toys in the outdoors in the middle of the afternoon, and suddenly I became aware that the sky was completely black in the middle of the daytime, and that the entire dome of the sky was my head. And that outside, beyond my head, were all of these spinning, what I would call galaxies, but at that point I called wheels, just the way Ezekiel called them, wheels, spinning, colorful wheels all over the place. And I was like seeing them by feeling them. I was so aware of this strangeness because the clouds were gone, the blue sky was gone, it was completely night, and yet I was flooded with sunlight playing in the sandbox. And then it went away. But I knew there was something other. I don't know how I knew it, but I just knew. I felt it. I was living it. There was something other. This was my initiation into otherness. My sister Marcy always talked about her little girlfriend who was staring at one of her dolls one day, and then the doll went like that. Totally freaked her out, and she ran away from every possible source of spirituality imaginable. She could never, ever go through the idea that life was somehow not as real as she wanted it to be, as solid. But it in truth was an initiatory moment. Something saying, it's not what it appears to be. It's not what you think it is. It's other than that. There's some huge otherness. And almost everybody knows kind of where your moment was. You know, I had this big LSD moment in the 60s. Many people who present here had LSD moments or drug moments or something that just really blasted the solidity of the world away and then told you, no, it's not what you think, and then let you try to figure out what is it. And the search for what is it really is the human search, in truth. The search for what is going on, what this all is why we're here. And we're all here to find it through our own eyes because the enormity of being is searching through each of us. The mystery of life is being explored through each of our eyes, and each of us sees it differently. And each of us sees it as confusion, and each of us has the opportunity to arrive at a kind of clarity. A kind of clarity that happens, according to Buddha, when you become enlightened. Almost every religion has a mystical truth to it. All of these mystical truths are that something breaks you out of the formality of religious practice and shows you something deeper. It shows you, if you will, God. God is a word I don't use in this class a lot, not because I have any problem with the word God. I am a total and absolute, if you will, believer in God. But so many people, it's such a horrible buzzword, it creates all these difficulties. So often I don't say God, I say, the universe, or the mystery. And Rudy used to say, the guy's upstairs. It all works. It all works. Whatever it is, there is this unbelievably powerful creative force, which, I will use the words of the Republican Party, is a designing force. It is designed. There is a designer at work. It is a truly mysterious process. The more I come to understand and know it, the more mysterious it gets. The more I try to hold on to it, the more it falls through my fingers. And I've decided it is not to be grasped. It is not to be known. It is to be in its presence and to be confused. But not confused in the sense of, oh my God, what am I doing? What's wrong with me? It's to be confused in the kind of, what would you call it, spiritual idiocy, the cosmic joker. What is this? I don't get it. I don't get it. But not getting it in any means says it's not to be gotten or that there's something wrong with you. Not to get it is to be, in my experience, ultimately in awe of it. In awe of it. I have such a huge desire to make that awe palpable for people, to lead people into the face of mystery and to have them bow down to it, to have them express what I feel, I would love to say every day, but almost every day, this incredible sense of good luck at being alive, at being here, at being present in this. In this. And you look around at all this and you have such confusion about it because this world is so inexplainable on some level. They found what they call the God particle this week, which really, in fact, was originally called the goddamn particle because they could never understand what it was. And they brought it into the God particle, but it can work either way. And the God particle is the thing that holds all this together. It's the thing that creates what they call mass, that allows a body to cohere, a flower to cohere, that allows the roof to form over your head and prevent the rain from falling on your head. It's a fascinating thing. It's a fascinating thing to me. I love particle physics. The beginning of the universe, I've talked about this before, they've talked about there was this enormous explosion of being, and at the exact same moment that arose, there was a resistance to it. And that resistance this is my interpretation, may be the God particle that they're talking about, the Higgs boson. That which resists what is in combination with what is. And it's essential. And we, each of us, are both the what is and the resistance to what is. Every one of us is a living example of exploding into being and holding it in check. That's what we are. What a strange thing to be. What a strange configuration. It's confusing. It's really confusing. How do we live that way? It's what is. Here's how you live that way. And it's really an important understanding. You accept it. You accept that you are this dual truth. You are yin and yang. You are the explosive force and you are the containing force. You are up and down, good and evil, love and hate. You are the whole drama of life. And you are the respite from that itself. You are that which goes into a state of complete release and openness and availability, and you're the very thing that is terrified of that. We're all here on a journey into mystery. And what happens along the way is more and more insight into that journey. And you come to a place that I find best described by the word trust. You don't understand it, you don't get it, it will never explain itself fully, but you know it is one with what you are, and that you are here because you are here, and that you are looking at, we call this thing life. We say we're in life, we're being in life, and that life somehow has windows and trains that go by and walls and ceilings and all of these things, and we call it life. This is life. And there's newspapers that tell you about wars and suffering and all this stuff, and the TV that takes your mind into a million different places, and a mind that goes to a million different places even if there's no TV. It's this incredible thing that's going on. What's another word for this? What's another word for this life? I'll tell you, I'll give you a word. God. It's God. This inexplainable, remarkable thing is God. And what is God but everything you're looking at? The chair you're sitting on, the floor your feet are resting on, the air that surrounds you, and the very body that you have, and the eyes through which you look, and the ears through which you hear, and the mouth through which these words arise. It's all one thing. It's this thing we call God. People say, where's God? Show me God. Where would God be with all this suffering in the world? Where's God, with the darkness of things? Where is God? God is in that, in all of that. How does it make sense? I cannot tell you. But is it amazing? Is it awesome? Is it remarkable? Yes. Yes. So, here you are in a state probably of confusion. And maybe this moment you're not. You will be. Confusion comes up. What about my life? My life is confusing. It's not working. It's not the way I wanted it to be. It's not the way it was supposed to be. Who said it was supposed to be anything? Who said? Who told you it was supposed to be this or that? Tell me, who told you that? People who didn't know told you that. People who didn't have a clue told you that. It's not supposed to be anything. It is what it is. And it may not add up in the way you want it to add up, but so what? It is what it is. I know we're always trying to find harmony and balance and comfort and joy and love, and we don't always find it. Does that mean something's wrong with us or wrong with life? No, it's just what it is. It's what it is. I bring up my granddaughter a lot because she's a remarkable teacher. I watch Talia every morning. We sit together and play. And she goes from one thing to another to another. She explores it for joy's sake. She learns from it. She does her puzzles. She can't figure them out. She tries to figure them out. She figures them out. She has these books now where you have to search for all these different things inside the book. She gets such a joy of searching and figuring all these things out. Then she's done with that. She moves on to the next thing. Let's go to the trains. Let's go on the swing. Let's go for a walk. I mean, it goes on and on and on. It's whatever is in the moment, and the minute the moment's over, it's the next thing. That's really what life is. One little joyful moment to another. Then she's told, you have to go to bed, and she cries. She goes to bed. She sits there and reads books and plays and has a wonderful time. Then she gets exhausted and falls asleep. Then she gets up and she wants you to know she's there, and then she wants to play some more. And yes, we can't all really do that as adults because we have to go to work and we have to earn money and we have to do all of these things that make us rigid and responsible and don't deliver the things that we want them to deliver. And you go, why? What's wrong? What's wrong is that our lives really are exactly like Talia's, and we have forgotten that. The ride to work can be full of joy. You can turn on any record player, any radio station you want. You can get news, you can get opera, you can get jazz, you can get talk radio, you can get anything you want, or you can get pure silence. Endless choice, just sitting in the car. Now, can you stop there from being traffic? No. Can you have a perfect flow sometimes? You never know. I was dropping my son off at the airport the other day, and I made a wrong turn onto Sepulveda South instead of Sepulveda North, and I ended up in El Segundo. And I said, I don't know why I'm in El Segundo, but I just looked around and tried to appreciate El Segundo and a completely different view of the airport as I headed backward. And I'm just past the airport, and I get a phone call from my son saying he forgot his phone in my car. Can I turn around? Had I not gone to El Segundo, I wouldn't have gotten back to give him his phone. And I got back, I got one more hug from my son, which for me was wonderful, and we said goodbye, and I said, you know, we look at the wrong turn as having been this huge mistake. The universe is punishing me. Why did I ever turn south instead of north? There's no reason for that. Of course there's a reason for it. There's a reason for everything without there being a reason that you will ever fully understand, except in those rare moments where someone calls you and says, are you close enough to the airport to get me my phone? And those moments happen. And they can happen more and more often. Because you begin to look at life as something that is what it is, and you will not understand it, but you can go, yes, to it. Yes. Instead of walking around going, why me, God? You know, I could have been, I should have been, I didn't have, I was supposed to have, none of this took place, why didn't it happen? That horrible, horrible frustration that lives in most people's hearts. One more piece of thing I want to talk about, and then I'll free you from this talk. I have some friends visiting who I love desperately. I've had so many people visiting this last couple of weeks, birthday parties. And none of them have spiritual practice. None of them have a spiritual life. Mm-hmm. And I want to give them so much, and do try. I hug people like mad. I sit and listen to them. I talk to them, and not about spirituality usually, just about anything. But I just love them, and they're suffering. They are suffering. And I want, in so many ways, to help them have a picture of what they can do. But they all lack structure. They lack the foundation on which to build a solid understanding. And they don't have the mechanics in place to take my love. It passes through them like that. I know they love it when they get it, but it's gone. What defines us in this particular setting, in this particular practice, is that we are building, in Rudy's terms, a foundation on which we can build a life. It may not be the life you had dreamt of or imagined, but it will be a life. And that life will have in it a moment to watch the train go by, draw something, on a piece of paper, sing a song, go on a swing, whatever it is. Life brings you all these moments, and they're all passing by you because you keep thinking, that they're not meaningful, that they're not about the big issues. But life is little issues. It's little issues, day by day, moment to moment, possibilities for being happy and enjoying your existence. To enjoy your existence, whatever it may be. That's really kind of what's possible. And so I have all these people, and there's nothing I can do about building their foundation. There's nothing I can do about giving them a machine, if you will, a capacity to take in energy and hold it. I can't sit down and give introductory classes to everybody about a breathing process that will actually open your heart, or allow you to enter and discover your heart, or discover your belly and your energy down here. I can only do that within this particular environment. So the fact that you guys come here is such a gift to this need that is presented here to give and to have something be held and used in a way that will be transformative, because it is the most transforming energy. This energy will grow you and allow you to become more and more available to everything we're talking about here. And ultimately, if you really engage this and you really discipline yourself with it, because it is a commitment to a structure, if you build this structure of a life, it will be very, very sound. It will give you what you need. And ultimately, unfortunately, it's all going to be torn down, completely dismantled. But because you have a deep clarity about process that will form, you will be part of the dismantling. You will build the structure and then very lovingly and very gently give this part away, break that down, take that apart, let it go, and if you're lucky, they'll take the whole thing at one time and you won't resist it. And you will be free. And you will be free of everyone who ever said should, every element of your life that is frustrating and confusing, everything in your life that makes you angry. You will be free. Freedom. Build the structure and dismantle it. Build it and let them dismantle it. One way or another, that's what's going to happen. You are building this life and they're going to take it all apart. They, God, will take it all apart. Why? To free you, to show you who you are. The most amazing thing is you think you are the structure. But it's only when the structure is taken away that you discover that you were not the structure. That the structure was just a way to touch, see, feel, breathe, enjoy, appreciate, and fear your God. That's what it was. That's what it's for. It's amazing. And when they take it away, that's the real gift. The real gift is discovering who you are. And who you are when you take away all of the restrictions and all the constrictions and all the confusions. What you are is this. Without, as someone said at the SIG group last year, without the cellophane separating you from it. You are vulnerably, beautifully, innocently, childlikely this. And it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. You are this right as this second as I speak, and if you don't know that, you're in process of learning it. That's all I can tell you. And you'll get it more likely if you build this structure consciously, if you have a foundation, if you really devote yourself to this with some consistency, because it doesn't happen by chance. Or if it does happen by chance, you won't know what to do with it. You won't know how to hold on to it. They'll just put you in an asylum. But if you build this by effort and will and desire and openness and surrender, you will create this amazing life, and as it's taken from you, you will say nothing but thank you. Thank you for every bit of it. So thank you. Any questions?
See if I can articulate this, but I can appreciate the upside and the perks of staying confused, because on the one hand, if I'm to spend the time, go into it and try to go through the fog and try to explore what's beyond. On the one hand, there's this awe, there's the potential of that sort of maybe positive side of it. But the other thing that's back there is, I mean, it almost seems like a mirror image of what that picture is, and that would be probably called existential horror. That the darkness aspect of it, and I guess the question is, what's the attitude, or what do you suggest? The attitude is, because there's one version which is just, I'm going to constantly seek it out and confront it, which I don't know if it's exactly it.
Well,
but well, that's what the question is.
okay. Let me say, existential horror is based on an incomplete sense of what is. It's one half of the equation. And that existential horror is an ego mind that has limited time and duration, realizing that it will not survive any of this. It's ego mind, and it's pretty horrifying. And it is often confused, as I say, because it chooses to be confused. It likes, maybe doesn't like exactly, but it chooses that condition. It absolves it of having to seek anything, of do anything. You can just be a wastrel and go, nihilist. What does it matter? It's all going to come to an end anyway. That's a choice that one can make. The promise of facing it, of looking into it, there's now a book out called Leaning In to Life. Lean in. I like that line, lean in. Lean into this thing, and what you will begin to see is that it doesn't hold up. You are not running from it because of its existential horror. You're just looking at it. You're looking at it with clarity. And this idea of, how did I get to this place of existing in a state of terror? How did that happen? It's existence, but why? You're not just taking it as a punishment. You're not just taking it as something that was thrown at you. You're going, what is this? And you begin to face it. You begin to look at it. And one of the things that happens, especially from a spiritual perspective, is you start to go deep with it. And as you really go deep, there's this extraordinary space of presence that happens in your heart chakra primarily, and it can go deeper into your navel chakra. You really go into this space, and it starts to present you with a kind of clarity, a kind of way of looking that cuts through the mask of what you're looking at. It sees it for what it is. It's not always easy to do. It takes a certain amount of real sitting under the Bo tree, if you will. The Buddha sat there and just sat there and sat there, and it all came at him. All of the existential horror came at him, and every form of desire came at him. But he sat in this space and said, I accept thee as thou art, if you will. He didn't say that, but that's essentially the idea. I accept this. I don't get it. I don't get it. I accept it. It's part of the magnitude of what is. And what happens, it's really interesting, is how this stuff comes at you and it starts to wither, if you will, under your pure gaze of clarity, of this presence. And so you have to find, it's just like a should, but forgive me. It helps if you find presence, because when you find presence, it offers you a way of seeing that is loving and embracing and clear. And you can stare down a lot of these things in your life that you think of as insufferable and unendurable. And you just look at them in the gaze, or the guise, if you will, of being loving and accepting of them. And it changes the complexion of everything. It changes everything. And the deeper you go in this, and the bigger it becomes, what starts to happen is a little bit is you become no longer a link to the earth, if you will. You become bigger and bigger. You become cosmological. You become vast in presence, truly vast. And then you look down at Michael Schlane, you look down at this little guy down there with this huge problem from the perspective of the infinite universe. And you know how big it appears? Like, you know? I mean, Talia and I opened up, we're sitting on a board by the train tracks. And we've been sitting on it for a long time. And Evan, her mother, came out and said, you need to move out of the sun. And so she lifted the board to take us further into the sort of the shade. And a universe of bugs were sitting under that board. Billions. I mean, I've never seen so many. There was a civilization there. And they're all sitting there worried about existential terror. Every one of those guys, you know, like, oh my God, I'm only going to live for so long, and I got to give the queen all this stuff, or whatever it is. Do you think the universe is really all that caring about it? It isn't. It's not important. And if your presence can get big enough to stand and look down on something like that and go, wow, that's a lot of activity. What are they doing? You know, I mean, it's really, we're so small. We're so small in the scheme of things, and yet we're vast in our cosmic reach. We're vast. Keep both of those things working, and you will begin to bring that awareness to your terror. And this terror will look really puny after a while. It's like, okay. I mean, pain, you know, I've talked a lot about pain recently, will bring you right up into the face of it, and it's going to be really hard work. And if you've done this work for years, you will have a muscle system that will work through all of this stuff, and that's what the value of practice is. That's the value of years of practice, that you really finally have a muscle system that will break through all that stuff that arises. And you know how to build muscle. Build it internally. Build that muscle. Build that strength, and you'll have extraordinary awareness of how to deal with all this stuff in life. It'll just come. It's the discipline that we all require if you want to grow in this way. The other choice is just waffle through life like one of those little bugs down there, you know, and when someone steps on you, you'll be screaming and yelling in horror, and then something will happen. What will happen at that moment? It's a mystery. It's a mystery. Anyone else?
I need to develop this muscle of speaking out in front of people. But I kind of wanted to build on my view of confusion of God and our existence. David said that God knew us before we were born and had a plan for us, a good plan. And I think a lot of the confusion comes from when we fight that plan. And I also, but I think part of the confusion is so we can have faith.
Sort?
Faith, I think without, you know, you touched on it with trust, but that faith, that things are going to, instead of fighting it, we just trust and we have faith. And we move in with that faith, and things work out the way, you know, because God gives us gifts. We all have different gifts, and we all have different things that we're good at, which leads us in a direction that wouldn't lead someone else in.
I do think this idea that God knew us before we were born is a very powerful idea. And it really, in my mind, rings true. God having a plan for us seems to me to be something that isn't as biblical an idea. It seems a man-made idea. It's a kind of solace. We ascribe, is that the right word, a motive to God's effort. I'm not sure we can get away with that. I'm really not. I assume, we all assume, we want to assume there's a plan in all of what we're going through, that there's some reason for it. But the reason may not be personal. If there is a reason, it may be, I mean, I call it, you know, God wants to know itself. It's trying to know itself, and we're each part of that process. Whether we have a happy life or a sad life, or this happens or that happens, you can say there's a plan, and it makes you feel better as a human being, and I think it's a good way to get through part of life. I think the faith that is required, or the trust that's required, is that, I guess in some ways it comes down to what you're saying. It's trusting the goodness, if you will, or the larger purpose, which is unknowable, not necessarily for our benefit, but for something bigger's benefit. Thy will be done, rather than our will be done. So I think that the ride that we're on, is the less interpretation, the less human interpretation we give it, the more we begin to know the ride through what we call presence. And presence is not a completely human experience. It's something that transcends our normal mental faculty, the need for the mind to interpret something. It's a kind of knowing. It's just knowing. And when you know it, you don't have to be analytical about it. You just go like that. Yes, that's all it is. So this idea of having God have a purpose for us is a wonderful, sweet idea. And if it gets you through life, God bless anybody who has that idea. It's better than thinking God has no purpose for us, or that there's no meaning at all. On the other hand, there may be no purpose and there may be no meaning, unfortunately. But there is. It is. Isness is. And I don't know what to say about that, other than that when one enters into this place of presence, you know it's okay. I use the word okay. You know it's okay. It may not be perfect and it may not be horrible, but it's okay in some really big way. And you go into that. We each have to choose how we do this. And choosing purpose over confusion is probably a healthy choice for writing it out. But I'm not sure in some ultimate sense we know that purpose, or that we have really interpreted God's purpose. I don't know that. It may be true. It may absolutely be true that there is a purpose for each one of us. And it sure feels good. And I think I've related to that on a number of occasions. But when I go really deep inside, I don't sense any purpose at all. I don't sense anything except here it is. And whatever that means. And I don't mean here it is like, oh yeah, look at this. I mean, wow, here it is. This is. That's what I get over and over. I keep coming back to that. So if you find the purpose, if you truly find the purpose and you can articulate that purpose, that's really extraordinary. But it can't come from your own mind's trying to make it that, or thinking that your mind knows God's mind. Not going to happen. I don't think. It's just too big. And if I'm wrong, look, if I'm wrong...
Like finding the purpose that there is no purpose.
Well, which is finding the purpose that there is no purpose is vague. How do I put this? It's liberating. Because get up and go sit and watch the train, and smell a flower, and do those things. Why? Because why? Because why not? You can do that, or you can go, you can go sit, in the dark corner of somewhere and just go, there's no purpose. There's no purpose. I'll choose sitting by the trains, or holding my granddaughter, or looking at the flowers. It's just my choice. Yeah, and you can make those choices as well, depending on what you want to do. We have that free will. God knows how that happened, but we have that. Okay, it's probably enough, right?
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, guys. Love you all.